So I have a quote here for episode 5. The strongest blade is often forged in hellfire. Anonymous. It's me. I feel like this episode being called Family Business was perfect because I feel like, as someone who didn't have the best childhood, I'm not gonna put my business out there. It was good, but I wouldn't sit there and say, oh my God, would you recommend this childhood to another person? You know, they'd be doing all the little whatever, but it made me the person I am. Like, there's only certain blades that can be forged in hell. There's only certain ones. Not saying that other swords are wrong or whatever, but there's just you have a different mindset. You have a different mindset, a different grind. It just puts you in a different emotional state to have a childhood, because childhood is pretty much where all the problems start at, right? But I really feel like as I go into this episode, I want you guys to keep that in mind. Okay, so first things first, basically he starts Vince starts bringing more of his family into the plot. You know, we have Linda, talking about the characters, not how they are. We don't know who they are. We don't know these people. All right, we don't know them. So Linda is pretty much, they're having her as, the old wife who doesn't know what's going on. She's wheelchair bound and she's and then we have Steph, who is like the innocent. She was an innocent daughter, then she turned in like a more rambunctious, like ruined from, she was to be engaged to somebody, but then she ended up going with Triple H. Like, it was just a whole thing. And then I have one here, then Shane's just like, Shane is basically like, he's like the good boy son, babyface, literal babyface. It's so funny to me because I think he's way finer now than he was back in the day. The babyface wasn't given. Maybe I have an issue where I like my men to look like men. That might be it. I don't like babyface. I like them to look like a grown man. Beard, yes. Give us beard. Give us gray. Like, I want you to look like a grown man. Anyways, but so there was also a storyline, like I was saying, I referenced last episode, where basically Trish Stratus, she's just so fine. Trish Stratus comes in and she's basically like, she's the mistress, and they actually bark like a dog, and then he basically there are several different instances where Vince has her, basically him being dominant and she's doing whatever. This appeals to men who can't get women like a Trish Stratus, okay? Because the fact that they hate the fact that they can never get those women, and the fact that they exist around them pisses them off. I know I've told you guys several different times where I've had men just be so mean to me, like literally not teasing, just mean, because they look at themselves and be like, okay, I can't get her Claire. Let me be mean to her to try to bring her down to my level. This appeals to a lot of men like that. Okay, so basically I have on here too that I have on here as well that there was a Shane versus Vince match, and Shane could not do physical violence onto his father. And Vince pretty much like, oh, forget that. This is for the show. Vince is just under the spell of the business at this point. And Vince pretty much, he hits him, and so of course, Shane hits him back and hits him with a trash can. Like, there's a lot going on. And so during all this, while this is all going on in the background, the women are trying to be of value now. Basically, they're trying to make it like, they're trying to be more, I wouldn't say more valuable, but more to the forefront, like have more rights. So Sable, she is one person that Vince asked to do like I said, everything's alleged. It's an open investigation by the FBI, so I cannot say too much. But Sable sued them for $110 million, according to Google.com, for harassment. And basically, she ended up coming to work back for the company, and Vince welcomed her with open arms and was like, okay, we're just gonna make this part of the plot that you sued us. Like, Vince does not see conflict. Like, conflict is what is in his veins. Like, he's used to, unfortunately, fighting, for the majority of his life. So anything that's not a fight, he doesn't understand anyway. So he's like, okay, well, she'll come work for us, and she did. So let's go on to the affairs. I have on this too. Basically, from what he admitted, which, like I said, I have it on here honest from what we can say. Okay, I literally have on here honest. Like, he literally said, and they asked Vince, like, did you have an affair? So I had several different affairs, and I realized it really affected the marriage, like emotionally, like it affected the marriage. And I really, I don't regret anything because I don't regret nothing, child. But like he literally admitted to it. I was like, there's some men who, to this day, I'm not trying to give him props because, like I say, he deserves to be in jail. But there's some men to this day that you could literally have all the stuff here. Hey, we saw you with so and so person, da da da, and they still want to admit it. And he admitted, he was like, hey, I cheated, I did, I messed up several different times. Like, okay. Anyway, so I have on here financial success. So like the attitude era, they're doing whatever. People are eating it up. So he starts getting money. So he's like, Vince is one of those people that he doesn't, like, if you look up ambition in the dictionary, his face is next to it. So he's just like, okay, let's try football. So he did XFL. My brain must have forgot it. I don't remember it. So he had XFL, where basically it's wrestling, but take it onto the football league. So it was good. It had good turnout for the first episode. But the issue is that there was no actual talent with the football players. It was, and football Americano, like, do not play with Americans when it comes to football. They don't care about baseball. They don't care about soccer. But American football, that. They always say America's pastime is baseball. They're lying. They're lying. They do not play about their football, okay? So basically, they weren't good. And if I say you're not a good football player, you suck, because I know nothing of football. But I knew some of them passes was just, they're just, so that closed down. He lost money from that. But I feel like I really like the fact that he tries new things. Like, he's not afraid to be embarrassed in front of people. He's not afraid to keep trying a different formula till a new formula works. I have on here as well that he doesn't, like, he's truly a businessman. He has what they call anti-nepotism. Like, he put his kids through it. There is plenty of times where, I'm talking about like finance wise, we don't know anything else. Okay. But he put his kids through it. Like, he's the first business billionaire I've ever seen that's actually anti-nepotism. And nepotism is the act of basically putting your kids on for free and putting them in places that people would literally have to, sacrifice for to get into. So he is anti-nepotism. Like, there'd be plenty of times where, like, what Shane said, there's in the interviews, there's plenty of times where Shane was just like, I would say an idea and he would just shut it down immediately. And I like the fact that happens, because a lot of these nepotism kids is not giving. But watch for the next episode. Okay, the following episode is going to include information about Chris Benoit and what took place. All right. So there was a time where I did not know about de-lifing yourself. And looking back, I want to say this is my first time ever seeing someone, I want to say I know, but I can say, like, Chris Benoit was the first time. Like, he was the first time. Like, I remember when the story first came out, it really was a grow up moment for me, because it was just like, I couldn't imagine, because, like, believe it or not, but, like, ask my parents, but from birth, I've always had a smile on my face. Like, I've always lived life at the full. I've always been happy to be here, if that makes any sense. I feel like that was my first time seeing, like, dang, like, if this is someone who literally wrestles every week, has a full family, beautiful family, if he can do something like that, then we all need to, I mean, regardless of, alleged performance enhancing drug abuse, that really was a grow up moment for me, at least I can say, because I remember where I was at. I remember when it first came out, I was like, everybody is lying, because we just saw him wrestling on Monday. Like, it was literally, like, I can say this was like I think wrestling changed. Like, I feel like that was the day that wrestling changed. Like, I feel like there was a shift. Like, I feel like it was almost like, okay, stop. We got to stop playing now. We got to be grown-ups. Like, it felt like that. And I like that they mentioned that CTE, basically, I didn't look it up. Ooh, I didn't do my homework, y'all. I'm sorry. So CTE, you have to look up what that stands for. But I remember because Will Smith did concussion, not research today. Basically, he did tell the truth. I just remember he had a bad Nigerian accent, baby. I don't know why. But basically, CTE is basically like when a it's a psychological and also physiological disorder when your brain keeps getting trauma to the front. Okay, so a lot of people don't understand this, but your frontal lobe holds your personality. So that's why usually whenever like people are like, oh my god, like your personality is right here. It's in your frontal lobe. So basically your characteristics, your temperament. So when you gotta, like, there's plenty of times where with like the late Chris Benoit would, like, he'd be jumping from a ring, he'd go right there, like right to your forehead. And like I said, your brain is pretty much protected by your skull, but you gotta understand, like, when you hit your head, your brain does rock in there. I know people are just like, oh, you're being over exaggerated. It's like, no, your brain, I truly believe your brain is rocking around in there when that happens. So, you know, just like besides physiological of like bleeding of your brain, just personality wise, I can see how that can be tied. Of course, you know, it's very I can see how, like, it's very hard to study this because which they allowed they brought his brain for research, but it's very hard to study this because of the fact that there's so many factors. We have age as a factor, we have environment, we have stressors as a factor. We don't know what's going on at the home, but it was enough that they had the wellness check. Basically, Vince McMahon called him up. It was like, hey, actually bring that on. So there's a wellness, there's a shift. I call it the clean era. Basically, he switched it from TV 14 to TV PG. And the thing about it is, like, it increased the money because, like, now these big brands are like, oh, now that you're clean now, hey, did you want to date? You know, like, but the thing about the fans were, I remember there was one video where one of the fans was like, had their hands like this, and they were just like, it's so corny now. And I'm just like, I know, but it's a different time. And I truly feel like that's the reason why WWE keeps going, is because of Vince. Like, he has what we call the eye in business, what we call the eye. Like, he can see a trend coming and he goes after it. Like, he doesn't sit there try to be like, okay, I'm waiting for the trend to catch up. Like, he kind of leans into it. Or sometimes he can pre-see this trend and like go that way, because if he would have kept going the way he was with, you know, the pushing it, like, there was some stuff on there that I can't even repeat on this video because I don't want you guys to know how bad it used to be back in the day, because it was a different time. But there was a certain acts that I saw and I was watching this series and I was just like, I wish I wasn't eating when I watched this. Like, there was a lot of stuff in there that I was truly in shock that they let go. But anything flew in the 90s and the 2000s. There weren't any repercussions for anything. Basically, I have on here too, WrestleMania was the first time that Shane got the love of his dad, at least. Basically, they had him come back and he basically fought against Undertaker, and he basically jumped from a building, jumped from the top of a steel cage. Of course, Undertaker still won, but he jumped from the top of a steel cage. Like, I want to see at least 3 or 4 stories of him just jump from the top of a steel cage onto whatever platform, and like, he just got back up. His kids were there, his 3 sons, which I'm just like, God likes to play a lot. You gave him 3 boys, not 1 girl. Wow. It's like, I'm gonna give you 3 times to do this right. All right, I'm gonna give you 3 times to do this right. But his sons are so adorable. But that was basically deciding whether or not like, he wanted to prove himself, like, hey, I'm next. Because right now, I think at the time, Stephanie was like co-CEO, and like, Shane's was like, I'm ready to step up to the plate, I'm ready to take on. It definitely gave me Firelord Ozai and Azula versus Zuko. Like, it definitely gave that vibe from Avatar. Like, I was just like, this is definitely giving Avatar vibes. But I don't know, like, their relationship to me always gave very much like, he can never win his father's approval, and I don't think he ever will. And I hope he sits in that, and hopefully he sits in that and is able to process it. Also, Shane looks better in his 50s than he did in his 20s. I don't know why. It just looks way better. But yeah, I hope he sits in that. So my overall review is basically with him stepping down. You can look all that stuff up. I have on here too, he's 79 and he's still active. He still was wrestling. And then there's there's several different counts of being stuck in traffic. We're going to say it like that. because it's an open case, I can't say anything. And then WrestleMania 2024, year 40, that's this year, they had record numbers, so that means there's still, that heat is still bringing people in. But I feel like overall, like, this answered nothing. Like, I feel like overall it answered nothing. Like, I'm watching it, and I'm just like, the reporter in me, I'm looking, I was just like, okay, so we're not going to answer that. We're not going to answer that. We're not going to answer this. Like, they answered nothing. Like, I don't feel like any answer I don't feel like there was any answer. Like, I don't feel like anything was answered. I don't feel like anything meaningful was answered. Like, there was something that kind of just, in me, just kind of gave to the point where I was like, okay, so you're not going to answer those questions. Got it. It did give us a background, which, like I said, I really feel what I do want them to do is I want them to make a WWE deep dive and just have whoever's still alive, no offense, whoever's still here and whoever's still here with us, or whoever the next generation, if it's just their son or whatever, I want them to have a deep dive on WWE. I want the Hardy Boys there. I want Kurt Angle there. Like, I want them to do a deep dive in WWE, and I would watch all 17 hours of it, because we need, us 90s kids, we need closure. Because there was a couple of questions that I was just like, can we ask this off camera? You just text me. Like, I need more. But it was nice to see. Also, I do believe that he will be going to jail for the rest of his natural life. There's too many counts, and it's 2024. Just want to let y'all know that, allegedly. But I do want to say, like, one thing I can give him credit on, and I know y'all I'm gonna get a lot of scrap for this, is that he's an excellent businessman. Like, there were so many times where I agreed with him, and I felt mad at myself, because I was like, damn, I was supposed to be agreeing with this literal demon, allegedly. But he's such a good businessman. Like, with them saying that Shane was too nice and Stephanie I was like, I feel like Stephanie, like Athena, was very, very aggressive. But I feel also like that aggression, that heat, is what you need to make a good series, you know. And then I also felt like with Shane, I felt like he needed more pressure, you know. Like they said with him being, he's too nice, I was just like, I wouldn't say he's too nice, it's just that we can't help what our innate pattern is, you know. Like me, like I'm one of those people where like I'm very friendly, but I'm not open. Like, you could be friends with me for years and not know anything. I'm going to show you what you need. I'm going to show you what I want you to see. You know, I'm not going to show you every aspect. And that's just how it's brought up, to not show too much, you know, because you can't really trust people all the way. Anybody can do anything. I really feel like there was just certain parts where I was just like, you need that heat. You need to catch up. You need to put pressure on people. Like, you just can't come in and be like, okay, well, I'm going to be this nice person and da-da-da. Like, you need to be able to act a certain way, because people are not going to respect you, and you have a business to run. Like I said, like they put all money on black. They put all the money on red. Like, it wasn't like, to me, it wasn't like, okay, we're just going to do A, B, and C. Like, no, it was literally like, if we lose this, we are going away because we have no money. Like, they put all their money into, like, just imagine having your savings. They put their 401k adjusted for 2024. They put all that into it. So it had to work, and you have to work at it. You have to be able to repackage people. Like, look at Stone Cold Steve Austin. Like, baby, like, I don't know whose idea it was to shave his head. Genius. He looks way better. Like, same with Dwayne. Like, he came in dressed like Maui. I don't know what that was. But there was just so many parts where I was like, dang, like, this is like genius to do this. Like, yes, do that. That works. Like with John Cena, repackaging John Cena, that was Steph's call. And just repackaging them, and like even with Shane, like coming in as Shane O'Mac, like, you know, pretty much the billionaire baby boy, like even that was a character in itself. So I don't know. I feel like overall, like, it was nice to know more, but I feel like this is like the tip of the iceberg. I feel like we know nothing. Like, this is nothing I couldn't have researched. I didn't know that his father, I did not know that Kronos left him in Tartarus for so long. Okay, I didn't know he left him in there until he was 12 years old, basically after all the hard work's done. Because honestly, if people sit there, let's keep it a buck, raising a kid, the hardest years are when they are under 8. People say, oh my God, teenagers. I was like, no, when they're under 8, they need you for every single thing. They need you to breathe. They need you to sneeze. They need you to burp. They need you to fart. Like, they need to do. Like, they need you for every single thing. And once they get 12, they're pretty much done. You're pretty much done. Like, I feel like once your child turns 8 or 9, you're pretty much done. Everything else is just, hormones, this and other, but you're pretty much done raising them by 9. So make sure you make a good impression at home. But I just pray that people know, like, when it comes to truly wanting that mindset, like, I'm going to be a billionaire one day, are you willing to do all of that? Because I don't know one billionaire, not even 2 billion. I don't know any billionaire that has not had to be mean or make choices that they didn't like to get to the top. You're not going to get there. You're not going to get to the top of the mountain. Excuse me. Like, you're not going to get there. You're not going to get to the top of the mountain like that. Like, that level, I can definitely say, but my final point is that with people saying, oh, he didn't know anything. I was like, listen, as someone who is also a fellow OCD, very meticulous, okay? Very meticulous person, he saw everything. He just didn't care. But don't forget to subscribe, share. It's good.
I feel like I'm losing my mind. 7